Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Viva La Cats. I'm your host, Justin Hiles, accompanied by my great friend, Steve Maurer, and we have a special guest on this week, JP Sponseller of the Head First podcast. And as always, we are part of the 1012 network, so make sure to check out the 1012 network covering all things Big 12, plenty of sports, plenty of coverage on plenty of teams, and they always do a great job. And you can also check out Phil's show, the sort of lead show of the 1012 network, the 1012 podcast. So make sure to check that out on Twitter, Spaces, Instagram, wherever you listen and wherever you consume your social media. But all aside, as we said, we've got our special guest JP on today. JP, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Great.
Great day in Bearcat land. I cannot.
I was going to say, yeah, it's tough to be in bad spirit. I'm not letting the Bengals ruin my weekends right now. So
yeah, I think that can be said for most people. You just got to let go.
Yeah, I was there, man, and I wish to not remember that anymore. So I will do the Men in Black mind wipe and start the week off right.
Yeah.
I had a text lined up for you, Steve, and it was like, Steve went to homecoming, got to experience the game in person. I was like, man, he's going to get the back-to-back, just great football weekend. And then as I was typing it out, the Jets are coming back, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to delete that. And I never sent it. So what could have been?
Yeah. As a Bengals fan, you could just slowly see that thing start to slip away at the really at the beginning of the second half, and it just was a slow burn from that point on.
Was it at the beginning of the second half or was it at the end of the first? Because we all know that familiar feeling very well here, but not so much this year, actually, thankfully enough. And the Bearcats did do enough this weekend to get a pretty sizable W over Baylor for the homecoming game. It's a fantastic win. Bearcats ended up winning 41-20. This is 2 consecutive weeks now that they have put up 40 points on some of those hateful 8 teams. Feels good. Feels good to get those resident Big 12 teams. Just a little payback for some of these teams that have really just not been so nice to us in our time in the Big 12 thus far. And we've just kind of want to put ourselves on that stage. And I think finally the Bearcats, have continued to show that this season and show that they belong. And I think that is a big topic and conversation that we're going to talk about today, about the teams that do belong. And, I think we are absolutely one of them. But get into the nitty gritty. Steve, of course, you were at the game. It's a W. It feels great. What were the vibes?
Yeah, man. I mean, it felt good. Like JP, I don't know if you were out on the grid as well, but vibe on the grid was great. Probably like the most packed it's been all season, at least from what I've seen and what other people have told me. Like just like great vibes. I had my dog out there. She got a lot of pets. It was her birthday, so personally, great day for me already before the game even started. But like JP, this team, like they just come out and just punch you in the mouth like 3 straight times, and if you're not ready to respond, you look up and it's like 17-0 like it was on Saturday, and then it got up to 24-0 before, unfortunately Baylor had a drive and then they had another drive and then made it 20-27. But I think that's been a huge part of this team so far, is that they've just been able to just come out and just body blow you 1, 2, 3, and you're already down 3 possessions before you can even put a real drive together.
Yeah, I think, one of the biggest differences this year, obviously we've had some good running backs, but having these 2 solid running backs with, I think, the best offensive line we've had in the past 4 or 5 years at least. It makes it very tough to come back from when you're playing against an offense that can run the ball like that and you're up 24 points. I will say this game and the Iowa State game, you kind of mentioned you have seen those slow comebacks, and you kind of think, all right, is this when the game's going to turn on its head? But I will say, I think Satterfield has done a good job of reading when that point in the game is, and he's been able to take some of those kill shots after running the ball for maybe 3 consecutive drives, and it's ended up working out for him for sure.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to talk about too, is just like the follow through, because in prior seasons, you saw when those points were coming and it was just like an avalanche. Like they just could not stop it. And I think, like you said, getting the kill shot is a great way of saying it. In this game, as Steve had mentioned, Baylor clawed all the way back, down 24-0 in the first half, clawed back. There was, again, a late touchdown, 16 seconds left at the end of the first half. And this one more self-inflicted, absolutely, than the when we were talking about the Iowa State game. But they clawed their way back to make it a one-score game, and then the Bearcats just put their foot down, put everything in place, and put the coffin nail in, and that's what we've been asking for. And that quality is with this team, which is really important, especially for a team that wants to perform and possibly look at making the Big 12 playoff. But the Big 12 playoff, the college football playoff. But even before that, the Big 12 conference championship in Arlington. And I think that quality is going to be really important for them to make it there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think go ahead, Steve. I think this week is, this week's going to be huge. Obviously, I think this is the toughest game to date. I think they are still fine if they lose this game. I think this is very winnable, though. But it's college game day, so it'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing I wanted to note too before we moved on to next week is that Cincinnati ran the ball 50 of its 71 plays. They clearly saw what the deficiencies were in that Baylor defense, and credit to Sat, man. Like I know people give him crap, for his first 2 years, but the guy knows how to call plays. He knows how to read like the defense and see what they're giving them and then respond to it. And, Sorsby only had 111 passing yards on Saturday, but when he needed to, he was on it and he was able to make efficient throws, get first downs and keep the offense rolling. And I think the other thing too is like the time of possession was in UC's favor as well. I talked about that, Justin, last week about how, we were going to need to kind of own that time of possession against Baylor, because we saw in previous weeks where Baylor, if they were given more chances near the end of the game, they would continue to come back, and they cut it to 7. Credit to them. Like they were able to cut it back, but UC holding them to only 137 passing yards is huge. And I know this defense has been much maligned, but they've only given up, all season in conference play. The one real big game for them was that Kansas game where it was a kind of a back and forth game, and Kansas does have a good offense, so credit to them. But the most and then Iowa State as well had 30, but UCF only had 11. Oklahoma State, they're bad, but they only had 17. And then, Baylor only gets 20, one of the more higher powered offenses that we faced all year. So, but moving on though to being 7-1, 17th in the polls, going up to the final third of the season. Justin, I'm curious, what your thoughts are on so I don't think you and I gave a specific prediction for record, and JP, I don't know if you did anywhere. I like to not box myself in on these things after. So for context, I said that we were going to go 8-4 in 2023, and that didn't really work out too well. So
you were close, just the opposite way.
yeah, a little bit far off, but Justin, I'm curious, what do you think is the most realistic prediction or the most hopeful prediction for the final third of this season?
Yeah. I think one thing that is going to be the big determining factor here is really just going to come down to the defense. And I think that is going to make a big difference in the final, 4 games that we have now. And as you mentioned, Steve, Sat found the ways to expose the Baylor defense this past week. Holding them to 137 passing yards was huge. That was the worst performance that Sawyer Robinson has had all year round. And I think that just goes to show more of the qualities of this defense that we've kind of been waiting for them to kind of have that really coming out game. Of course, Baylor did score a good amount of points here. But I think it just proves it against pretty much the best offense in the Big 12, alongside us in Texas Tech. They held it to them. And I think for that, it makes me feel a lot more confident about how they can perform in this final third. Sitting at 7-1 with the remaining schedule left that the Bearcats have, I don't see how they could go 2-2 realistically with the way that they performed. There's certainly a window, and I think we've got some away games, but if they can take care of business this week, I think realistically the ceiling for them might be 11-1. I think the ceiling's 11-1. However, the floor I do think sits probably at 9-3. And I think they could trip up, but it's I think a lot would have to go wrong based on the way they performed this year and thus far to get to that 9-3, because I think they beat TCU. Quite honestly, they're gonna beat Arizona. If they don't, we're gonna have some problems based on just the way the season has gone. And then it really just leaves BYU and Utah. And I think Utah right now, with the momentum the team has, I'd give them the edge, and BYU's at home. So it's tough. It's tough to really say that this team is going to go get worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, a couple weeks ago, I would have came out and said that Utah is better than BYU, and I guess the verdict is still kind of out on that. Obviously, they won the game. I think another big thing to look at when looking ahead is like, what is TCU going to be playing for in that last game of the season opposed to us? Like, obviously, they're going to have, whenever you're playing the last game of the year at home, it's always a little bit of an edge, even though this isn't really a traditional like rivalry last game of the year. So there's not all of that in there. But yeah, just obviously I thought they were going to have a better year to this point than what they've had. So kind of where is that locker room at by week 12 will be very interesting by then.
That's a good point. Sonny Dykes teams tend to heat up towards the end too.
No. Other way. Justin.
Sorry. They tend to downturn. Well,
because if you guys both remember a couple of years ago when SMU walked in here and they were 8-1, and like Cincinnati took a 41-0 lead near the end of the game, and then unfortunately gave up a couple points, but like that one was definitely a lot of fun. JP, I think the reason that they want to put that game near the end is we played 2 games against each other in the old or 3 games against each other, in the old Conference USA days. And they're like, yeah, that's protected historical matchup. You guys don't get to play UCF every year, but you're playing TCU rivalry week, buddy. Like, you better
maybe
enjoy
it's
it.
like the got blocked by the Big 12 bowl.
Who does West Virginia have for their like rivalry week?
Let's look. Well, I also will say maybe it's like the
Texas
Big 12
Tech.
trying to put together. Oh, Texas Tech. Okay, so that's rough. I do think that's been kind of my only problem with Yormark so far in his Big 12 tenure, is that he has not really prioritized rivalries like Iowa State and Kansas State going away, like, and UCF and Cincinnati not playing every year despite being 2 of the 3 teams in the same time zone. So it's just that's just kind of a little frustrating to me. I don't know. It's just funny.
Sorry, JP. This is for because this is your first time on here. My camera just likes to blur out all of a sudden, so I just put my fingers in front and then I pull it back, and then eventually it refocuses. But if I turn it on, turn it back on, doesn't matter. So we just have to do that. Don't worry.
Okay.
But he's like, wait, what's happening? What's happening?
Just real quick though, I do think that 11-1 is definitely the ceiling. If I've been pretty consistent in my own thoughts all year that this game at Utah is going to be a tough one, especially before the season. Like, even if we were like a 2 or 3 loss team at this point, I was just going to say that this was going to be a tough trip regardless, just because of having to travel to Salt Lake. Utah is a tough program, tough team. They're really good in the trenches, and I think our offensive line has been great. Our defensive line has definitely stepped up a little bit more in the past couple of weeks, but it's just going to be tough, man. And like, I do wonder though, Justin, and that since we got game day coming here to Salt Lake, we told everybody that, this is not about Utah. This is about the Bearcats.
It is about the Bearcats.
I also wonder, Justin, since game day is coming here and they're looking to talk about your Cincinnati Bearcats, is Brendan Sorsby the best quarterback that Utah has seen all year? Like, because I'm not really buying into the Bear Bachmeier hype. UCF fan or BYU fans hype train pod come at me.
I'll let you say that, Steve. That's all new, buddy.
I'll say it with my chest. I'm right here.
All right.
But if you look at their schedule, like, probably the best QB they've played so far is Bear Bachmeier. I mean, they played Nico before their transition to Jerry Neuheisel. So that offense was not really humming at full speed. They, played West Virginia. They've played Colorado this past weekend with Caden Salter. And don't get me wrong, like Utah, like although I've been giving them crap on Twitter, I'll give them the respect on the pod. Like they play hard. They obviously, played a really tough game against BYU a couple of weeks ago, but they're a really fundamentally sound team. And I know that they have 2 losses, but they're still going to be tough to play against, man. This is not going to be an easy game for Cincinnati. And it's it's going to be the best defense they've played to date. So,
Right.
I think the other thing that I'm just looking at here too is just what are we going to see from, just our rushing attack? Because if we get the rushing attack going again, and if we can, create some of that positive momentum, I think there's yards to be had on Utah. I mean, look at that Texas Tech game. Like, that was probably the best offense that, with Baron Morton going out and then Hammond going in, that Utah's seen, and Texas Tech just kind of ran it up on them in the fourth quarter. So,
yep.
JP, we were just talking about, how game day's not going to be there for Utah. They're there for the Bearcats, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, or no, they haven't or that was Big Noon kickoff that was at Utah for Texas Tech. But Utah's on. No one's talking about Utah's big win over Colorado last week. They were all remembering the loss to BYU. Everyone is starting to talk about the Bearcats a little bit. I will say, totally disrespectful that the line opened at 7.5. I placed a bet on it this morning. I just looked again, and it's at 9.5. So
okay.
It looks like it's going to be a long week of me just doubling down, because I think it's disrespectful that understood. This is I marked this down as the toughest game of the year before the season started, but with the way they're playing right now, I think people are crazy if they think that we're not keeping this game.
Wild. I didn't know that the line jumped that much. I put a 20 on 6.5.
Yeah.
It opened at 7.5 and it went down to 6.5. And I'm like, I'm going to take it now before it drops even more. But I mean, I'm still confident I put the 20 on the Bearcats money line regardless, but I'm going to put it on there. Just play safe. You never know. It is Utah. It's a game day atmosphere. They're going to be rowdy. It's a night game. There is elevation. You got a lot of factors in here that do actually work well in Utah's favor. However, again, like Steve said, I mean, when you look at the good teams that they played on their schedule, you could say that somebody could look and say oh my God, they beat number 21 Arizona State 42-10. That is Jeff Sims, Arizona State. That is not Sam Levitt, Arizona State. Just to clarify for those of you who might be looking at that and don't realize that.
Yeah, we all remember the past 5 schools that Jeff Sims has played at. And I've been fading him for the past 3 years. So
we played Jeff Sims and we saw how that went. No discredit to Jeff Sims, but he's just not great. Regardless, I think Utah, against the better competition and against even matched competition thus far this year, like Steven said, Texas Tech and BYU, they fell both times. Granted, BYU was on the road and that's a rowdy atmosphere, but BYU's solid. They have some flaws, but they're solid. Texas Tech, just flattened them. And Texas Tech is a really good offense too. And I don't see why the Bearcats wouldn't be doing not the same, but I don't see why the Bearcats could not win this game and could not win this game by a score. I was honestly, like you guys said, I'm honestly a little floored by the line and where it's at. I want to know what Vegas sees in this game. And I don't know if it's just maybe the time and the elevation and the other things that we've kind of mentioned, but and that again, that's a factor for teams traveling, and it's a late game, and that will factor in, because for the Bearcats, that's going to be a late start.
I think one other thing too is, if you think about it, the best running quarterback we've played this year is Jalen Daniels, probably from Kansas, as far as pure runner. And like you said, that's the team that's had the best offensive game against us. So I think that's one other thing to look at is we've played against quite a few guys that can move around a little bit, but as far as a pure runner, and I do think Dampierre can run. I don't know. Just another thing to look at.
Yeah. Again, I just don't really see. I don't see the hype here. We saw what Utah was last year. Scratch the board, different team. But when you look at this year, sure, they beat up on some tough teams. If you want to call Arizona State with one of the most injured rosters at the time, tough teams, but their wins are UCLA, Cal Poly, Wyoming, West Virginia, the most depleted Arizona State, and Colorado. Like,
No.
that's not really going to move the needle for anybody. But when you talk about their losses, BYU and Texas Tech, like, I just think this team has flaws. And I think that this team is not as good as people are saying. And I will probably get clipped and eat my words if we lose. But that's a big if. I just don't see it.
Don't get me wrong.
Don't.
I'm totally with you. I'm just, once that line came out, especially, I'm trying to make sure I'm not starting to go like totally delusional again in Bearcats sports. So I'm trying to remain realistic through all of this. I did not expect to be 7-1. Knew we were going to be good, but I'm just trying to stay level-headed and take it a week at a time at this point.
And so from a prediction standpoint, I think the only way this kind of really gets out of hand for Cincinnati is if Utah is able to run the ball effectively. And, I don't know if even if Dampier, no word on him yet. And Kyle Whittingham from Utah likes to be a little cagey with his, what's up?
I thought he was cleared because he rested, but maybe I could be wrong.
I mean, it's Utah quarterbacks, and we saw Cam Rising hurt his hand and not play the rest of the year last year. So I don't know what happens with Utah quarterbacks, but Bird Ficklin, man, he looked real good too. I mean, Colorado, I think, is not very good, but it's kind of crazy that they're able to just pull out their backup and just look as effective. And so I think, like JP said, if they're able to get the running game going with both the quarterback and the running backs, and if they're able to kind of lean on UC a little bit with their really good offensive line that's got 2 NFL starters, that I could see us getting game scripted out of that and just having to score quickly and put the ball in the air more often. Now, Sorsby has not thrown a pick since week 1, but we have also not really seen them in a position where they've had to come back from multiple scores. They were down, by 1 score a few different times during that Kansas game, but they did always come back during that. I think this will be a good test for them too, just to see how they respond when they get punched in the mouth, because, going to Utah, like you said, and we got really good metrics. I'm looking at Game On Paper for this game, and all the areas that Utah is good at, Cincinnati is maybe not as good. And, that's why you play the games. You don't play the games on paper like this website is called. You play them on the field, and I'm sure Tyson Veit will have something to try and respond to that. Maybe we'll try to get a few more pressures involved, maybe have Jake Gameday be spying the quarterback position just to make sure that that quarterback is not getting out on any runs or any scrambles. But, I'm still going to take the Cats to cover, even at 9.5. 9.5 is so many points.
That's a lot.
It's a crazy amount. And that's all, like you said, JP, that's borderline disrespectful.
Yeah. No, I'm glad what you brought up about Gameday and their offensive line. I think they might have a slight edge up front, but that's the one thing that probably has stuck out to me the most these past few weeks is how good these UC linebackers are playing right now. Gameday especially, but I mean, they got quite a few guys that are flying around and making some plays. I think they've been the biggest difference in the defense this year.
Big time. And then the other thing too is like if UC is able to continue their turnover streak, take the ball away and not give it up. I looked this up because some BYU fans were chirping me in the mentions today. I mentioned that they got extremely lucky to win that game against Iowa State, and they did not like that at all. So I'm already like 3 weeks ahead in my trash talk for that game. But
and Steve, where did you tweet that from?
At Viva La Cats pod. Shout out to the old Bird app.
Bro's putting dirt on my name against my beloved Cougs.
Oh, well, yeah, it's early.
We talk trash for everyone here.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's more fun when your team's involved. When we were like not as good, then we can cheer on BYU, but we gotta iron in the fire. We gotta hold it. So Ty.
Whoa!
All right, I'm going to take a lap for that.
That's not the first time.
No, I feel bad.
He's going to get there around the horn mute. He's getting the mute button. Oh, wait. No, I just muted Jake. I muted myself. Hold on. All right, now we're going to mute Steve. There we go. Yeah, I just muted everybody except for Steve. Steve, you get the mute button for that. You're just going to have to sit there for a second. I'm going to bring up one last thing, and I think this could be the reason. This would make a lot of sense metrically why Utah is so heavily favored in this game. As it currently stands, Utah is 13th in both total offense and total defense. which I think does give an actual like good bit of credit, to where they're at. Again, I think it's one of those things where on paper, Utah looks like a really strong team. You have it at home. You have a good environment. It will be a tough game. But on paper is a lot different than, like Steve said previously, on field. And I'm just really curious to see how this nets out.
I want to add in too, like I look at all these spreads every week, all the time, and the Bearcats have been way better against the spread than Utah has been. I mean, I know Utah was favored against Texas Tech, favored against BYU. 2 games they for sure did not cover. And I want to say that the Bearcats have covered, knock on wood, every game except for UCF.
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
Which was screwy too.
Yeah, exactly. They've been making me some coin this year opposed to the last 2. They're making up for the last 2 years is what's going on.
We'll give a shout out, Steve. Hit up ATS.
Yeah. Well, so I was looking and I was trying to find what the Kansas game, Cincinnati was
4.5 point.
Yeah, but they were
dogs.
They were a dog. Yeah, you're right. So they have not been a dog since the Nebraska game. And that line opened as a 6 in the summer, but got down to 3.5, and they did cover the with the hook there, but they have not been a dog since. And so currently against the spread 6-2 this year, and 5-3 on totals. But the only ones they lost are Bowling Green and UCF. So everything else they've covered so far. So if you give me 9.5, and if that line keeps jumping up there, it might just be worth a ladder.
Yeah. Alt spread. Bearcats -6.5.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I did put a little bit on a little money line sprinkle on there as well.
That'll all depend on how many beers that I have by 10:30 p.m. Saturday, for being honest.
You said alt spread Utes 6.5?
No. Come on.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Come on.
How about we alt spread this Bearcats +21?
What you're? Oh man, you. Justin has no faith. Okay, I see.
No.
I see how it is.
Realistically, I mean, I would confidently. I think I could confidently put down like a 10 or so on Bearcats, like -10.
I
mean, it would make me a lot of money. It would make me a lot of money.
Yeah, be a good payout.
Yeah. But are you think you're well? What do you think about the total too, JP? Like, what
is it at?
So it's at 56.5 right now.
I don't know, honestly, just because I'm pretty sure usually the rule of thumb is if you like the underdog that you should typically go the under route. But so for this case, that would be going against it. I think 54 is kind of a lot of points, but like you said, if this turns into like the Texas Tech Utah game or the UC Kansas game, I mean, there could be a lot of points scored. So I don't know. I have had issues. I don't touch UC totals just because I don't know. Kind of tough to gauge. Our defense can play. Our defense can play really good, and then we could look really bad for 3 drives, and I don't know.
The best option here for the Bearcats is -2.5 on an alt spread. They won't even let me go above that. Odds are
really
290 on that. So I would take the 290. Bearcats can win by a field goal, game-winning field goal if it need be. But you know what? I'm going to put it on right now. I'm going to put it on right now. Put me on witness.
Yep. All right. We're all riding. We got.
That's a $40 payout.
Okay.
That's a $40 payout.
All right. I see it, Justin. -2.5, win by a field goal at the gun. That could be fun.
I'm already like $15 invested in this game, and you know what? We're just gonna green light it. Bang! No free ads.
Not a sponsor, but they could be.
$10 right there.
If
they want the Bearcats plus or a -2.5. I will probably lose money. No. We hope not.
Nah.
But that's a lot about Utah. That's a lot about everything Bearcats land as far as this weekend goes. But we've kind of already done a little bit of our Big 12 head-to-head, but let's jump into more of our Big 12 head-to-head. JP, the Big 12 head-to-head is basically where we just kind of recap a little bit of the action from the Big 12 this past week, preview some of the other great games that we've got going around the league, some ones that might be important to the Bearcats, and as well reflect on our Big 12 draft that we did at the beginning of the season, where we each picked a team from each tier level. There are 4 tiers. There is a ghost team. The third, there's 1, 2, 3, one for me, one for Steve, and one for our friend Joel. The 4th team goes to the ghost team, whoever didn't get picked. And the ghost team, if you lose to them at the end of the season with season totals, you have to run an unalive for every single loss that you are behind. So Joel currently owes, I think it's 5 for the basketball season.
10.
He still has not,
10.
Was it 10?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was 10. Okay, so Joel owes 10 unalives from basketball. And currently, as I would imagine, he's probably not, he's going to be adding to that. This and just to mention too, for those of you who do pay attention to this each week, thank you if you do. And if you do, tell us that you do, please. If you pay attention to this, Joel, you're not getting out of this if you happen to find a way to go positive. It's not happening, but if you happen to find a way, you don't get to erase the basketball ones. You still, the rent comes due on the basketball ones, and it will come due very soon, probably Thanksgiving weekend. And I'm sorry, but it's going to happen.
Say basketball soon's starting again pretty soon here.
That's right. Yeah.
We're in like a week and a half or so.
He's going to be a season behind, so he's going to have to start, maybe we'll start putting interest on those,
Yeah, we should put interest on him. The longer you wait, he's going to blame us. He's going to say it's our fault. It's his fault.
So just real quick, I do think Cincinnati, Utah is the most interesting game of this upcoming weekend. You do have a couple other ones, Texas Tech going to K-State. That one could be interesting. Houston could potentially get another win and go to 8-1, and without really having beaten anyone this entire year, should be interesting as well. But real quick, I just wanted to mention the Kansas State-Kansas game from this past weekend. So we know something about winning against a team 16 straight times. Unfortunately, we lost that streak, but we did get it back, with the Miami game. But Kansas was hosting Kansas State with the opportunity to finally end the streak of 16 straight losses to K-State in that rivalry. And obviously K-State's having a down year right now. Kansas had them at home. Noon game, it was a little bit rainy, but probably Kansas's best attempt to try and fix that and get the trophy back didn't happen for them. 42-17 to the Wildcats. And I don't know, it was just, I watched a little bit of that game, and Kansas State fumbled the opening kickoff, and Kansas scored and made it 7-0 with 2 minutes into the game. And just the fact that Kansas State went 42-10 the rest of the way, just a little bit shocking. But JP, I don't know if they're ever going to end that streak in Lawrence if you couldn't do it this year.
Yeah, that's tough. I will say Kansas State, I expected them to be pretty competitive this year. They just came out, and that game against Iowa State was pretty close, but it just looked worse and worse, and then kind of started trending up the past 3 weeks. I didn't know they get Texas Tech at home this week. I'm kind of interested. That could be upset alert. We've kind of found out that obviously with the loss, Texas Tech lost. Where'd they get
lost at Arizona State? Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. So they're not bulletproof because I think Arizona State's good, but they're not. I don't think they're a top 3 team in the Big 12.
No.
So yeah,
that's fair to say.
That'll be interesting. I don't think Avery Johnson does not suck. He looked bad for a few weeks. I don't think he sucks.
No, they just had I think they just had a bad Ireland layover, honestly. I think they still had jet lag from that game. And I think that kind of caused them to not play very well the first 3 weeks. And then they've kind of just turned it on the past couple of weeks. So,
but yeah, I don't have any answers for the 16 years in a row. That kind of reminds me of when we were in the American Conference, there was every team that you had to play 6 games a year instead of 3. And ours was East Carolina every year. And they were the best team in our conference every year. And it was just we were just pumped if we could go 1-5. And it was a thing with us too. They would always drop a series to a bad Memphis team but for whatever reason, we literally could not figure it out. They just owned us. So that's kind of what that reminded me of right there.
I remember a few years ago, like maybe 2017 or 2018, like Manny Rodriguez hitting a home run in the 9th inning to just win like the first game of the series. And then like, I think ECU took the other two in like pretty easy fashion, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm glad that we know we don't have to go there anymore because those were some haunted weekends for
that is though. I wanted them this year. I would love to see the Bearcats get some revenge on them because I think we can now. They have been trending a little down and the Bearcats are trending up. So I would love to get some revenge on ECU at some point.
Oh yeah. That's like my college football dynasty team. Like I love East Carolina, but I got no love for them for the actual team because they always had a weird little rivalry with us in football, and then just they would always seem to upset us in basketball at the most inopportune time, and then baseball, like you said. So I'm good with that. I think I would like to see them get that. So real quick, Justin, you mentioned it. Our teams so far. So JP Justin has Arizona State at 5-3. We're only counting wins so far as points. So
okay.
Arizona State at 5-3, Iowa State 5-3. Both took losses this weekend. Colorado also took a loss. They're 3-5, and UC is 7-1 on Justin's team. So he's got 20 wins so far. Myself, I also have 20 wins. I have Kansas State at 4-4, Kansas at 4-4. BYU at 8-0, and Arizona at 4-3. They had a bye this week. Only team in the conference to not have played 8 games so far, so they're going to have to catch up. So I have 20 wins as well, and Joel only has 16. So he's got Texas Tech at 7-1, TCU at 6-2, but he picked the two worst teams you could pick. He picked Oklahoma State at 1-7, and then he picked West Virginia at 2-6. So my boy Joel is just fighting to stay at 500 right here, but he's at 16 wins and 16 losses. And real quick, the Ghost team has Utah at 6-2, Baylor at 4-4, UCF at 4-3, and Houston at 7-1. So Ghost team has 21. So right now we're all running. Yep. So Justin and I know there's only one, but Joel's got to add 5 more on. So
it's one of the things that hurts the most too, because you look at it and it's like, we let the Ghost team get a Houston, and it's like how like I mean that Houston was literally the bottom bracket. It's the last tier. It was the last options, and so that literally was 16 out of 16. We left Houston for dead last. That's a tough roll there, but alas, that is what it is. One thing I do want to say, just for interest of how this week will relate to the Bearcats for some matchups. If you're a Bearcats fan, you're probably going to be rooting for West Virginia, and you're probably going to be rooting for Kansas State, because we'll see how everything maps out with conference. I really doubt that the Big 12 is going to get 2 spots just because of the perception and the way this conference has been talked about. So my whole idea of let's get 2 in and hopefully everybody wins and, tides raise all boats kind of thing. No, like this. Everybody else dies, the Bearcats go in. That's basically where we're at right now. I mean, you need BYU to continue to win to get you in. And then after this game, you probably need Utah to help to keep winning to kind of give you some credit, some credit on that road game. But really, you need BYU to keep winning. But Texas Tech losing and Houston losing would be very important because BYU, Cincinnati are both 5-0 atop the conference, and Texas Tech and Houston are both in second place at 4-1. If you can widen that gap to 2 games, that'd be huge, because right now, Utah, Arizona State, Kansas State, and TCU are all sitting at 3-2. I think they're still kind of distantly in the play. Some of those teams there. Anybody that's at 2-3, which includes Iowa State and Baylor and Kansas, I think anybody from them down is out. I don't think it's happening. I just don't see how a team gets into the Big 12 championship with 3 losses. And that requires all of those teams to win out. So I think realistically, the plays here are BYU, Cincy, Texas Tech, and Houston. And you need those other 2 teams to lose. And you need the one left on your schedule, other than, of course, Utah, to keep winning. So that's the teams to root for this week if you're going to be rooting for people. Sorry, Red Raiders fans. Sorry, Cougs. It is what it is.
Well, and then the other thing too, if you want to look ahead for Houston, JP, you and I are friends of a feather on the betting side here. Well, Justin just laid down a live one, so we're all in the shit. So next Friday, UCF is hosting Houston. Seems like a very run of the mill game, but JP, I don't know if you know about the space game record for UCF when they wear those space uniforms.
Citronauts.
Yes, correct. They are currently 8-0. They've won every game out of the past 8 years when they've worn those uniforms. They literally turn into a different team. Like Oklahoma State walked in there at like number 15 a couple of years ago and lost by 40 points. So if you need an edge already for next week, I'm putting my eyes on that UCF game because it's at home. It's a Friday night game. Everybody's going to be watching. Houston's going to be they have a good chance to win another game and be 8-1 next week. Probably could be a top 15 team or at least top 20 team by then. Man, like I'd love to see two of our former conference and now conference rivals just duke it out. But if UCF can take care of business for us, that'd be huge.
Yeah, that might be the first time in a few years I've ever rooted for UCF, maybe ever to record, but I will be rooting for UCF in that game. But yeah, this from my 3 years watching the Big 12 and kind of all three sports, this tends to be the time of year or time point in the season where shit starts to kind of get weird and a lot of weird stuff starts happening throughout upsets. It happens across all sports. It's the craziest thing. I've been quite entertained by it, but yeah, I would not be surprised if, like you said, we start seeing some more distance between those 2-loss teams, 1-loss teams, and some upsets start to happen. I mean, finger crossed we don't catch one of those, but yeah, I would not be surprised if the Big 12 picture looks quite different in about 3 weeks.
I mean, this week the Bearcats apparently are going to be looking for an upset.
Apparently, we're going to get our ass kicked this weekend.
Yeah, so. Apparently, I mean, it's just going to be freaking
college game day. We're just going to get we're going to get ruined.
Don't forget, as much as we are all happy, there's some more coverage here. It is still SEC game day on this show.
Well, even if we just real quick, even if we lose, we're still in good position for Arlington because you've got BYU on the schedule, and that is basically going to be a deciding game on who goes. So
I was going to say, I think that just if you don't win this week, that kind of turns BYU into a must win, which that'd be a lot more fun if that was just like a solidify us in the championship type win. But yeah.
Yeah. And quite honestly, like if you're playing like the really like nitty gritty game here too, if you take care of business against TCU and Arizona, as long as you beat one of those two teams, you're in at this point because Utah already has 2 losses. BYU, of course, is undefeated. I think if they go and you lose to BYU, you'll be fine because you're losing to the Big 12 champion regular season champion, I guess I should say. And if you beat Utah, you're just going to further the gap. They're going to be 3-3 after this week if that's the case. So they're going to be completely off the board. So, I mean, I think for the Bearcats, like you are in a good position here as long as you do your job against Arizona and TCU. I think it's really in your favor. You've done the work up to this point. Just go 1-1 in that section. I mean, that's what you have to do, but go 1-1 in these 2 ranked games.
It's going to be a big one next week against with BYU and Texas Tech as well. That'll be a huge game to like really solidify. I think one of those teams is probably going to go. So if BYU wins that game and Cincinnati defeats BYU, then I think it's just a rematch of those 2 teams.
You need BYU to win that game too, because if Texas Tech wins, that brings BYU down a peg. And if the Bearcats don't win, then you have like a 4-way tie for first, and you don't want that at all. So thankfully you dodge Texas Tech and BYU, so you don't have those advantage games, but that might get really weird. I'd be curious to see how that, when people put together this like chaos map of how everything can work out, that'll be interesting. But the most important thing, win this week. That is the most important thing. Win this week, go on the road, do it. And guess what? For those of you who don't know, next Tuesday is the first college football playoff rankings release. So first weekend in November, I mean, hopefully the Bearcats are going to be up there. And I think if you beat a Utah like this on this national stage on a game day, I mean, there's a lot going for you if you do that. And it's going to be important to see. Before we jump to our next topic, we actually skipped over this somehow throughout the entire show. We mentioned that Brendan Sorsby is a good quarterback. However, we did not mention the fact that Brendan Sorsby should realistically be a strong candidate for the Heisman Trophy this year. We need to plead our case. It has to be said. It has to be said. I mean, the ignorance is disgusting. I am appalled on the national stage how nobody is talking about Brendan Sorsby, because Brendan Sorsby is performing just as good, if not better, than some of the other candidates that are currently in the running right now. And I'm just amazed at how we're at this point.
I think it's unfortunately, and you saw it last year with a guy like Cam Scatabo. Like, no one knew who Cam Scatabo was until the Big 12 championship game.
True.
Realistically, like, unfortunately, the Big 12 has been such an offensive conference for forever, where no one really credits any of the offensive players until they play someone else at the end of the year. Not even at the beginning of the year or during the season. They don't recognize any of them until, I mean, no one gave TCU credit and whatever until they went and played Michigan's defense and put up 45 on them in the playoff.
And then Max Duggan just turns into a saint.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I loved him last year, even when he started to not play as well towards the end of the season. I still love the kid. I love his mentality out there. I think he's an awesome leader. I love that he wears the UC baseball like game hats on the sideline. That's one of my favorite things about him. But yeah, I mean, he's absolutely balling. I think they put out a graphic.
Oh yeah.
Consecutive games with 2 or more touchdowns and no interceptions. And I think he's on there with
7.
What? Trevor Lawrence and
Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and Tua. Those are 3 NFL quarterbacks, 3 starting NFL quarterbacks. The quality of some of those we can determine, but that's okay.
Say Lawrence was a Heisman winner.
Yep.
Right? Fields never won it. Did Tua win it, or did he just win the championship?
No, Tua just won the championship. He didn't win a Heisman. And then obviously Burrow won it, but just to add to it, he's only 12th, right? Brendan Sorsby is only 12th right now on my app's Heisman Trophy odds at plus 4,500, and that's behind guys such as Jeremiah Love, Diego Pavia, Gunnar Stockton, Marcel Reed, Haynes King. If you're interested, go in Trinidad Chambliss. If you go look up Haynes King, Trinidad Chambliss, compare them with Brendan Sorsby, I'd say Sorsby better. Like, just because of how much of a factor he is in the run game as well. Like, he had almost as many yards rushing on Saturday as he did passing. So it's just huge. Like, he's just been a contributor in all different forms. And I think, it's too late for Heisman voters on Saturday. They go to bed about 8:30 p.m. after a nice cup of tea. They don't really stay up for the late games. But if he can put up a couple big numbers in some big time games going down the stretch, he should get more love.
Yeah, I think a lot of those dudes you mentioned too can really run. I think what separates him is he has made some really big throws this year. Like, he has truly made some NFL throws to the opposite sideline of the field. And he's also, I think I talked about when he did have some tough games in the middle towards the end of the year last year, it looked like he was almost predetermining whether he was going to tuck the ball and run, or he was in his own head and kind of forced some stuff down the field, where that's the biggest thing I've seen is, I'm sure the offensive line giving him some time makes it a lot easier, but no panic from the kid.
Yep.
At all this whole season.
And he said that too, I believe last year. It was just that he kind of got in his own head towards the end of the season. And I think for Sorsby, you just see how cool and calm and collected he is, which I think, again, just goes to speak to his leadership quality, but also just goes to show that he knows that he is a great quarterback, and now he's just kind of following through. And last year we all saw the flash. You could see it in his play at Indiana, but you could see it last year specifically with the Bearcats. The beginning of that season was truly impressive.
Yeah.
And it unfortunately just a few mistakes turned into a few more things. And I think he started forcing it in a lot of situations this year. I think he's just a lot more confident, and that confidence, it really bleeds into the other guys on the team. And I think it really bleeds into the fan base and everyone else around him. And I think it's, to me, speaking specifically about the Heisman conversation, and this will be my last point, is just that award is all about what happens when you take that player away from this team. What does this team become without that player? And quite honestly, I don't know if this team is 500 right now without Brendan Sorsby. I don't know if this team has 3 wins without Brendan Sorsby. He is that good, and he has been that pivotal and important for this team week in and week out. And he's making the plays. He's making the NFL caliber throws. He's doing everything right. And I think it just, we respect him and we respect the conversation. I think more people just need to start talking about him because he is just genuinely fun to watch. You put him out on the field, it is just genuinely fun to watch. And he has those throws that kind of make your jaw drop. You're just like,
Yeah.
And he has the plays, that little cut run that he had in the red zone this past week, where he kind of like ran over to the right, stopped, dropped back, and then, just punched through. Like that. It's impressive. He is impressive to watch. And I'm just hoping that more people can recognize that.
Yeah, I think when people talk about the Heisman too, everyone talks about like the Heisman moment, right? I mean,
right.
No one's had that moment yet at any of those guys. I mean, who's to say for Brendan Sorsby, it might take him to have 2 or 3 moments because he's going to get the short end of the stick. But I mean, the opportunities are there. Who's to say? Because I'll tell you what, we got College Game Day this week. And if we win that game, they're coming to Clifton for BYU in 2 weeks.
Oh, they have to.
They'll be there. So, I mean, who's to say he doesn't make some big plays on 2 College Game Days and then he's right there in the conversation? Bearcats are in the Big 12 championship. I mean,
I'd say with the drive that they put together against Kansas to like win that game was fantastic. If you can do that same type of thing, if it comes down to like a game-winning drive against Utah on game day, at elevation in a ruckus environment, and you can shut them up, like that's a Heisman moment right there. Like that put to bed. So I hope for it too. That'll be awesome. But as just kind of a final point here before we transition to a little preview from our friend JP on some baseball. It's the talk of the town right now. It's the talk of the day today specifically. There's been some more movement and some more buyouts being paid. This time it happens to another UC former coach, Brian Kelly. Congratulations. You get $50 million to sit on a beach in Cancun and do nothing. Congratulations. Let's all give a hand for Brian Kelly. You did it. You conned everybody into thinking that you deserved the money. I'm jealous of these guys. I mean, you just look at the system and you're like, what did I do wrong? I should have. I wasn't going to play football. I was going to play some of these high level sports in college. But come on, there's something I could have done to con somebody out of $50 million.
It's the best job in history. Be a fired football coach.
Yeah. Well, and then just the Andy Staples and Ari Wasserman, they're on their show last week. They interviewed Ed Orgeron, and he's 4 years since his buyout is almost over, but he just has a penthouse on Miami Beach, which sounds nice. And now Brian Kelly's, he's 64, and he's probably going to go enjoy that with his family somewhere, just off on the coast somewhere. But JP, I don't know if you saw like some of the clips from Saturday night. I was not watching fully, but like some of the clips just looked bad. Like him calling out his own offensive coordinator, like on the headset, and then the camera shot pans over to the offensive coordinator, and you just see their conversation, and then he yells at a special teams guy. I mean, I think we've known ever since Cincinnati that Brian Kelly never makes a mistake. It's all on these other guys.
Yeah, I did not watch a ton of – I didn't do a good job of watching any games after the UC game Saturday. It was homecoming. I'm from out of town now. I was trying to make some connections with some people, see some people, and didn't really care about anything after the Bearcats got the win. But
completely fair.
I never liked Kelly at LSU. I mean, you got like when I grew up and I think of like prime LSU my age, I think of like Les Miles, and then obviously you see Coach O like Brian Kelly does not fit the style of those two. I mean, I don't know about you. I don't think Brian Kelly is intimidating like one bit. I think he's honest. Like, if you guys watch that SEC show, like all of his, I don't know. I don't want to like crap on the guy too much. He's obviously had success as a football coach, but I don't know how well I would respond. Like, it was just like it's a whiny ripping your ass instead of just like I don't know. Yeah, like it was just different. I don't know. I was not a fan.
And then the other thing, then, JP, you have the experience as a player, so I'd be interested to hear your opinion on this. There were some players that came out and kind of said anonymously that they didn't really have a relationship with him because he was kind of a CEO. He was never really in position group meetings or like ball meeting, offense or defense meetings or anything like that. He was just kind of like the leader of the team and come in for a team meeting and stuff like that. Like, I don't really know if you and I think something else that Split Zone Duo called out was that there was not really like any former players of his from Cincinnati or Notre Dame or LSU, saying oh, this guy's a good guy, this, is that anything to you? Does that mean anything to you when you you kind of see some of those in those other positions where no one's really coming out to support this guy? Does that say anything to you?
I have kind of learned the past couple of years too. I strictly judge a coach based on what his players, obviously success is one thing, but I strictly judge the integrity and character of a coach based off what his players say about him. People obviously out there don't like Tony Vitello or kind of how he ran things at Tennessee. Every single one of those players is ready to run through a brick wall for him every game. So he's doing something right. He's doing his job. So I'm fine with that. Another example, Xavier's baseball coach, Billy O'Connor, great coach. I was never a fan of playing against him, never a fan of the guy, but the players love him. So I can respect that. And yeah, I same thing. I've never really seen anybody come out and vouch very strong for the guy. Talking about being in meetings, I can't really speak on that as much just because baseball roster, you're talking about 35, 40 guys opposed to over 100. So I don't really know how all of that works. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting point too, because if you think about another UC example for Marcus Freeman, when Brian Kelly left Notre Dame, I mean, the entire locker room was basically we're walking unless you hire Marcus Freeman. He is the guy. We want him as our coach. And they bullied Notre Dame into hiring an amazing coach who truly is a great fit for Notre Dame and is truly a great fit to be a leader of men. And that I think is just great. And I see former coaches like Brian Kelly, and then I compare them to other former coaches like Marcus Freeman. And I'm just the valley is so large between the two of them. And it's just funny that they're on the same staff at the same time. And look what happens when you don't have a Marcus Freeman on your staff. Aren't you figuring that out too, Luke Fickell? So yeah, just a little moment just to talk about, some of the interest there.
Can I show you something real quick, Justin? Hold on.
Yes.
So, Oregon was playing against Wisconsin this weekend, and they had their Grateful Dead promotion. Look what came in the mail for me this weekend.
Bro's stripping live TV. Look at that. That's honestly beautiful. That's
Those
great.
Jerseys are awesome.
I am a Grateful Dead fan, to be honest, but
he's a deadhead.
It was a good enough shirt. It's got the walking duck there amongst the bears. So it is cool, and also they beat that guy. So I'm it's not really about him anymore, though. I am kind of starting to feel bad for him. Just because I don't think anybody would have thought it would have gone this way at Wisconsin. So, but man, it's just crazy to see how much that's happened. And it's kind of the other way with Fickell, where that I feel there would be people coming out and in support of him. And I don't think he's a bad football coach. I mean, obviously Brian Kelly isn't a bad football coach either. I don't think that either of them have forgotten how to coach. I think Fickell is more just he does not have the players, and he's obviously does not have the staff either. It kind of just hasn't really worked for him in that way where it did at UC. So,
I think I'll just add this as I think it's contrast between Fick and Kelly too, is that you mentioned the sort of player situation with Wisconsin. I think it is also interesting to note where they sit with their NIL budget and some of the money that's been actually put towards the team. Is, I mean, he is kind of lacking the funds compared to the rest of the Big Ten, and that is hard to compete with. And I do give some slack for that. However, I mean, all things said, you can't run out there and have goose eggs like you are. You can't just get absolutely flattened by decent teams, not even the top of the Big Ten teams. And I think it's just something is really just not going right there. And I just don't know if at this point it's just a system flaw or if it's just not a fit for the coach. But I am curious to see if he'll make it to the end of the season, or if they let go of him in the offseason, or given how Wisconsin's, kind of looked at doing NIL, maybe they just hold on to him because they can't afford the buyout. I don't know. Maybe that happens too. Lots of interest there. I'm curious to watch that storyline. But that's enough on those two guys. We are looking forward to Bearcats taking the mound. JP, the floor is yours, my friend. Tell us everything for any Bearcats fan that needs to know anything about baseball, which we like to call here our third sport. We cover a lot of football. We cover a lot of basketball. We've been trying to cover more baseball. What do people need to know about this year's baseball team?
Well, I mean, first, I've always said that, and it's obvious and clear that the fan bases for basketball and football for UC are massive, huge.
Right.
Always have been, even for the size of the school. Obviously, now we're growing a lot. Big 12. Baseball it's starting to catch some more attention, but has never been on the scale of like the average UC fan usually doesn't know anything about baseball. And then like totally valid, but that's kind of why I started this podcast thing once I started to get done. And obviously the team's starting to do a lot better. I'm just trying to bring as much juice and attention to that program as well, not even from outside people, just from UC people, because there's so many that aren't following yet. So
for sure,
I'm super passionate about it. I started kind of covering the team here right when I got off the team in 2023. That is when they hired Coach Jordan Bischel, moved to the Big 12. So he'll be moving into year 3 this season. Obviously, already doing some big things. They made their first tournament appearance last year since 2019. First at-large bid. Obviously, it helps being in the Big 12 now, but first at-large bid, I want to say, ever. We were kind of always in a situation where we had to win a tournament. But, yeah, I mean, doing some big things. I'll say for the fans that have only watched football and basketball, that's where I've gotten all of my UC fandom and excitement for the past 2 years, as the other two have been kind of a disappointment. So they've been really, really competitive, really fun to watch. Yeah, came up short in a regional last year. Had the Big 12 Player of the Year, Carrington Cross, who was there when I was there. So played with him for 2 years. Awesome to see what he was able to do, man. I mean, I think his on-base percentage was about 500. He hit over 400. I mean, it was awesome to watch. But yeah, I obviously I don't live in Cincy anymore, so haven't been able to get to much fall stuff. Honestly, from being a player, like people probably want to hear more fall stuff, but I never read into it like a ton, just because
that's fair.
I played on some teams where I thought we were going to be really good in the fall. Weren't. Played on some teams where I didn't think we were going to be good, better than we thought. Some guys never hit well in the fall, hit really good in the spring. I always hit really well in the fall, never hit that good in the spring. So like I never pour too much attention into the fall, but I do know, obviously, lost some guys to the draft last year. Anytime you make the tournament, it's always a good thing for the transfer portal pickups. Everyone wants to play somewhere where that's an opportunity every year. So we're able to pick up some dudes and made some. I know they're making some facility upgrades down there, so starting to put a little bit more money into the facilities in baseball. But yeah, I mean, other than that, just really excited. This program's starting to get some traction, and it's a great venue down there for people who haven't gone to any games. And you could watch some pretty good baseball in the Big 12. You'll see quite a few draft picks on the Bearcats and roll in there every year now. So definitely should start checking out some Bearcats baseball if you're a UC fan and have not already.
And college baseball too is just like, it's a lot more like fun. Like I enjoy MLB baseball, but I know there's like, a common perception that MLB baseball is not like fun per se, and like I think it is. I know you probably think.
I will watch the Reds. I don't watch MLB baseball until either college ends or the postseason. So if that answers your question, I will watch not even UC. I'll watch other college baseball over MLB until college baseball wraps up.
Well, and that was what I was going to say is like, that's just like some of like the fun midweek games, where like you got like a small school in-state going against a big school. And like, who was like the Georgia closer last year, for example, I think it was at Kennesaw State or something that like lost his mind. It was like, double looking at like the guy on second base before it was like pumping in heaters and stuff. Like, it's such a fun sport. It's its own sport. I'll say that because like it's so different from, other different levels of baseball, and like just the amount of passion and emotion and fun that like the athletes have and you guys have it's just great. And I think it's getting more coverage and it's getting more shine, and I think it'll grow. And the thing I love about the pod is now you've got two more guys like yourself who were former UC players. One of them close to my heart, Corey Klingenbeck, former Elder grad. Well, not a former Elder grad. He's always an Elder grad, but and so going into the new season with the Head First podcast, what are you looking to do with the pod and with the new guys being added?
Yeah, so Cole Harding was the third guy. He's a fellow Mason grad, so I've been playing with him for a while now. Last year, what we did was, now all of this is still not totally ironed out yet, but last year we would do a podcast every Wednesday or Thursday where we would recap the 4 games from last week, preview the series, and definitely going to do that again. I think we'll do a better job of having maybe some coaches and players on just for like 20-minute stints in those episodes where we can still kind of maybe throw a couple shots in there when they play bad without having a player or coach on there. But just because we have to, we got to be realistic. But we'll definitely be doing those again weekly. And then I am also in the works of, there's a lot of people that do like a preview type thing for, maybe they'll pick 5 or 6 series and they'll have their series pick'ems, run through them, talk about all their series. There is nothing in college baseball where you actually wake up on the day of the game and get like a game day type environment. So my idea for this year is I want to do, and obviously this will be super untraditional because everyone will play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I want to wake up, pick like 6 games every Saturday morning and do, we'll also do like a midweek madness. We'll talk about the midweek upsets, couple segments, couple fun things. And then I want to do like a game day environment with all of our connections of college baseball now and summer ball and all that stuff. I think we'll be able to get a guest picker for like some big games, like some Florida State, some SEC games. So
that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's kind of all still in the works, but I'm super pumped to do that and kind of see where it goes, just because, like I said, there's nothing where you can kind of like wake up in the morning, drink your coffee, and like see what's going on for the day. So that's kind of my goal for it. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
You're right up my alley, brother. That would be awesome. And fire up your app of choice too while listening.
We will be talking betting. So it's like, yeah, if you wanna watch an SEC or ACC baseball game or any baseball game for that matter, we'll give you a couple picks and try to win you some money.
You heard it here first, folks. He's gonna win you some money.
I did do pretty well last year, and
I was riding.
Okay. Yeah, I did pretty well. I think this year I'm going to try to shorten down there's just so many games every day, and it's so hard for me to not like 10 of them. So I'm going to try to condense a little bit this year. And then, but for those, the focus is going to be like big games. And then I might post some picks that aren't big games that I like. And then if it's a big game and I don't feel comfortable with a pick, I'm just not going to bet it. I might say a side that I like, but I'm not going to actually bet it, because that was where last year I always kind of fell into the trap of I want to have a little bit of action on everything. So
that's fair. That's fair. Real quick, just from a series standpoint, UC was able to release its baseball schedule a couple weeks ago. What is there one series for the Bearcats this year that really stands out to you?
Yeah. So let me pull it up here.
Yeah, because I think there, it was interesting seeing like kind of the draw of the league, and obviously you only get like 8 or 9 conference series, so you're not going to play everyone, but. I just found a couple things interesting, and I'd just love to hear from you. Like, what's that one series that really like catches your attention?
Yeah, I'd say non-conference wise, I'm gonna start. It might be cold, but Austin P is coming to town at the end of March, end of February. That team's won like 40 games the past 2 years and barely just not won that ASUN tournament, but I love that Coach Roland Fanning. I've had him on the podcast. He's awesome. What he's doing down there is awesome. They're going to come up here ready to go, and they're going to be kind of having, not that they have anything against Cincinnati, but they're not going to be shying away from Coach Bischel or this team whatsoever. They're going to be looking to win, and they're also a pretty gritty team. Not really like. All I'll say is I've seen them get chippy with a few teams, and I know that UC likes to start some antics and do some stuff in the dugout. So that'll just be an entertaining series from that aspect too. You might see some back and forth and a little bit of chippiness in that series. But
aren't they the team too that has like all the awesome like home field stuff? Like they wear like the cool jack. That's Austin P. Right?
They wear like the neon stuff in pregame and like BP and stuff. Yeah. They'll wear like sleeveless shirts and BP. Yeah. Coach Fanning is awesome. He's one of the most entertaining dudes I've ever spent time with. I would say big series. Obviously they say the coolest place since we've moved to the Big 12 is OK State. So they're going back out to OK State, and they always have a ton of dudes. So that'll be a good series. One for people to go watch at home will be West Virginia. That's another team who's continued to get better and better. Should be good again this year. We get them at the end of April, so should be some good weather. And then obviously the way these past 2 seasons have gone, the past 2 weeks always have some high implications. So last weekend series of the year is Texas Tech. And I know they're always, I mean, that's a great program. I know they haven't been fantastic the past couple of years, but I would not be surprised if they have a good squad, and that series will have some pretty high implications to it.
Yeah, that weekend series they played against Texas a couple of years ago. I think it was 2024 or maybe it was 23. I don't remember, but one of the series where like they walked it, I think they swept and like they walked it off twice, and like the whole crowd was going crazy in Lubbock. Like that's a place that like loves. I mean, I think that's the great part about the Big 12 is that there's a lot of like, purely college towns, and Cincinnati is obviously, we got pro sports here, but it's some of the fun things about going to the, like some of these places that like they just love their college sports. And like, I love that Texas Tech suggestion because it's such a cool atmosphere there. And I think the other thing too is that, Cincinnati misses a couple of the teams that were in like the top of the league last year. JP, I got to go to the Saturday night game in Tucson against Arizona last year. And that's one I'm sure the team and I would have liked to have had back. That was a rough weekend for the boys, but missing some of those top teams, you're probably if to make another tournament case, they're probably going to have to, put up some good numbers in non-conference and then really hold their own in conference play for another chance at an at-large.
Yeah, so I talked about that a little bit. Some people were asking me. We did a schedule release episode last week. But the thing about that, yeah, you're missing, let's see, you're missing Arizona and Arizona State and TCU, 3 teams that should all be in the top half. Now, obviously, people usually worry about the RPI, which is true. But now that you're in a Power 4 conference, it's usually a good deal. If you hit a certain win total in a Power 4 conference, you're in, and you're not going to be left out, kind of regardless of what that RPI is. So that is one thing that I do feel really good about it is, I mean, still the Big 12, just like any sport, it's kind of a crapshoot, and it has been in baseball for the past 2 years. So you don't know what's going to happen. But if you'd like to say we have a lesser schedule, take care of business, hit that 37 win range, and you'll be good to go.
Love it.
Good stuff. We got one final question for you, and then we'll send you off, JP.
All right.
Appreciate all of the fantastic coverage you've given us to baseball. Appreciate your input on everything else, but we will judge you based on this one question alone. What is your Skyline order?
I love this. Comes up on this is how I judge people on my show.
There you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
So, it's recently changed, which is weird. But traditional always was large 3-way and 2 or 3 cheese conies, no mustard, no onion. I've recently moved away from the 3-way, and I'm going with 2 Cholitos, add spaghetti. 1 or 2 Cholitos, add spaghetti, 2 or 3 conies, no mustard, no onion, depending on how hungry I am.
Classic. You're a man after my heart, JB, because that's I'm not really much of the 3 or 4-way type of guy. It's just, I don't know. It's just not really my thing. So that's kind of mine too. I do usually do 1 Cholito with extreme cheese and then 2 cheese conies all the way. So that's exactly right. I'd say everything he said, Justin, is exactly correct. And, I think that's why more fans should be listening to JP, because he's clearly got some correct takes about ball and about Skyline.
Large 5-way, sour cream Cholito plus a coney with everything.
Is the sour cream chili, is that technically that Skyline dip one that they had? Do they have that like all the time now?
Sour cream Cholito has been in the mix for a long time.
Well, so no, they don't have the you're right. They don't have the Skyline dip one all the time. I think that was just kind of like a limited thing. But
what's the difference between that? Or
it's basically the same thing.
I guess there was wait, you said sour cream.
Yeah. So there was no
cream cheese. Yeah, that's didn't process that.
Yeah.
The Skyline dip one is cream cheese, not sour cream.
Yes.
So sour cream is I don't know if thicker. I've heard that one too much. Great,
sour cream Cholito? Oh my god. It's just chef's kiss.
I don't know, man. To me, the thing about the Cholito that makes it great
is
a
staple menu item. You can order it if you can order it off the drive-through, it is a very normal order.
I mean, I don't know.
We will put this clip out there. If there's anybody who refutes a sour cream Cholito, I want to know about it other than these two, because it is a damn good menu item, and I will stand by that.
I'm not down yet. I've just never seen someone order it, but
every time. I can't think of the last time I went to Skyline and did not order a sour cream Cholito. Like, I've done it since I was like in middle school.
But no, trust me, it's respectable. You guys know Nate Taylor, the pitcher for UC.
Yeah.
He came on out and told me he just gets like noodles and cheese, and he's never tried the chili. And I really lost a lot of respect.
I mean, that's why they call him Nasty Nate, because food.
He's lived in Cincinnati his whole life.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Some people, man, they just don't see the light, and that. It was funny watching Eddie from Barstool attempt it, try it, and then people were just yelling him in the comments to do the cut, not the twirl.
Not the twirl.
We'll leave this off on the Skyline thing. I recently had a friend this weekend tell me that his girlfriend, her father, put Skyline chili in her baby formula, and she's loved it ever since. I don't know. I don't know how true it is, but it's crazy. I don't know. I mean, just like a little drop. It's like, hey, oh my God, there's a little flavor in there. There's a little flavor in it. I don't know. I don't know if it's true or not. That's
probably
all
what
I
my
heard.
parents did to
I'm
me
just
as a
speaking.
kid.
But hey, I mean, if it makes them like it, I mean, it's just kind of like a little, just just a little drop of Skyline chili. JP, thank you very much for being on this week. It was a joy. We'd love to have you on again, especially once we get to the thick of the baseball season. But
Absolutely.
Again, for everybody who has been listening throughout the show, just tell us real quick where they can find you. We'll see you way out.
Yeah, we let me see here. Let me pull up the official tags. On Instagram, it is headfirst_podcast. On Twitter or X, it is headfirst_pod. And then all of our links are in our bios there, but we are on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube and TikTok as well. We'll throw some clips on there. So you can find us at any of those.
Fantastic.
But yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. It was nice to finally meet you guys. We'll have to keep this connection going in the future.
Sounds great.
Likewise. Absolutely, man. Take care. Thank you for joining us, everybody. JP Sponseller.
Absolutely.
Steve, we have one final thing left. And speaking of wraps, the sour cream chilito is just peak. Let's go.
Skyline chili. I mean, we're giving you free pub, and you don't need it from us, probably.
We give it so often. Like, come on.
Yeah, like just hit us up, man. Like, we're here. We love you.
Honestly, just send me a box of the shredded cheese. I need that down here in Nashville. You just can't get the cheese. You just can't get it right. You have to grate. You have to grate it. That's the only way.
It's never like as great when it's like fully great. When you have to grate it on your own, or when you get it in prepackaged. So
that's fair.
So you asked for a Bearcats Sports Wrapup, and buddy, you're about to get one in a 3, a 2, and a 1. We're going to start off with women's golf. The Power Cat Invitational finished up last Tuesday, the 21st, and the Bearcats finished second out of 16 at the Manhattan, Kansas Golf Invitational. Shout out to the team. They finished second at this Power Cat Invitational, which is in Manhattan, Kansas. Registered a team score of 904, placing behind Kansas State, the host. 3 student athletes for Cincinnati finished inside the top 10. And Mar Garcia Jimenez notched a 4th place finish behind a season low 2 under 70 in the final round. So shout out to women's golf. I believe they are not competing anytime soon, but that's a great way to end your fall season. So shout out to them. We are now going to get to women's basketball. Justin, women's basketball team, as we recorded tonight, did play in their exhibition game against Taylor University, and they got the dub. Final score of 104-67. So they are going to go into next week and start their season a night after the men do. They will start on next Tuesday. They will host Lehigh before they go on the road on Friday to Penn State. So unfortunately, D. Alexander, highly touted recruit for the Bearcats, will be out indefinitely with an injury. So we are wishing all the best to her. Hopefully she's able to heal up and be ready to go later on this season. Would love to see her play. We are going to move on now to our friends with the women's volleyball team. Women's volleyball did get a victory this past week against Utah, taking the 3-1 victory at home this past Wednesday. And they will be their next matches. Sorry, I'm kind of doing this on the fly here. They will be hosting Kansas this upcoming Thursday, October 30th, for the Bearcats Halloween Bash. And they will also I believe they're playing a second game. Nope, they don't. They're off for a week out. No. My apologies. They are hosting Taylor Swift Day this upcoming Saturday against Houston. So chance for 2 more victories there, stack them up, and hopefully they can do something, make some more noise in the Big 12 season. Next, we will move on to our friends on the cross-country team. Justin, our friend Nixon Koge, and the Runnin' Bearcats are going to be competing in the Big 12 championship this upcoming weekend. So let's hope that they can pull home some more conference honors, because Lawrence, Kansas is I hear there's some good run lanes out there. I asked the Bearcats running backs. I didn't really, but there's some good lanes to run out there, in Lawrence, Kansas. So hopefully that will mean some good things for our cross country folks. Swimming and diving this upcoming weekend, they will be facing Oakland at Purdue in a tryout meet at Oakland University Aquatic Center in Rochester, Michigan. You ever been there, Justin? Up in Rochester, Michigan? You've been around the state of Michigan a few times. Never been to.
Can't say I have.
Okay, fair enough. Well, next we will go on to women's soccer. Women's soccer did finish their home slate on Sunday, on Senior Day, with a win over Iowa State 3-0, and they also defeated the Oklahoma State this past Thursday night 1-0. So Cincinnati is tied for 8th right now in the conference standings, and they have one more game this upcoming Thursday night at West Virginia. And if they win that game, they will be in play to play in the Big 12 Conference Championships the next week in Kansas City. So that is a big one coming up for Cincinnati. So hopefully they can get a W there and keep their season alive. We'll do a couple more here. We've got, I mentioned women's volleyball and football, and unfortunately we have to talk about the men's basketball team. They did drop a game that most people will probably not want to remember. It was bad enough that the score is not even mentioned in the top article on the score is not even mentioned in the write-up of the entire on GoBearcats.com. Like the score is not even on there. Okay, I found it now. 61-89, losing by 28 on the road. It's not really what you want.
Nope.
There was a few different people that were kind of like losing their minds a little bit on Friday night as this result was happening. And, I tweeted it out and I said, I preach patience for Sean, just for people to not be like, giving him too much hype just yet. So I went the other way and I said, I'm going to preach patience for the team and for people to not just hate on them. Like, let's give him some time. Let's all take solace in the fact that Xavier lost 2 scrimmages, one secret and one not so secret, to Murray State and Toledo. So, it could definitely be worse. It could definitely be better. But I think there's a lot to be figured out this season. And it's a lot of different things swirling around just about, what this season is going to mean for the program, for the head coach, for the roster. There's a lot going on. And so Cincinnati is going to have a tough couple of games next week when they host Western Carolina and Georgia State. And for 1 week, depending on the result of the football game, or even not, because it's going to be a bye week for football, we're going to flip fully onto basketball, and it'll be interesting. Let's say that. So that's kind of a rundown of the Bearcats sports within the past week and then within the upcoming week. So a little bit looser, not as fast as we like, but we're already at a hour 27. So if you're sticking with us here, we greatly appreciate you.
Yep. And we will also mention that because of a clear lack of planning and busy schedules, we're going to have to find time between now and Monday to create the official both Big 12 draft and the season total. We have to pick both of them, and it has to happen before the exhibition game. Maybe we can wait, but it would feel wrong to pick after the first game. I mean, we could probably be safe to assume that all Big 12 teams are going to win on Monday.
Well, they might not all play on Monday too.
That's true.
So.
That's a good point. We are in the very early aspect of the season, but we will figure something out. We have to figure something out. We have to do it soon. Perhaps that will just be next week's show, and maybe we'll do that Monday. Maybe we'll do it Sunday. We'll figure it out.
By the way, the Bearcats the soccer team will be facing West Virginia in their senior night. West Virginia is currently second in the league at 7 wins, 0 losses, and 3 draws. So, definitely not what you want to be going up against. And hopefully, we can preserve a draw and just keep our dreams alive for Kansas City. So never know.
I would like to add this since we're talking about soccer. Speaking of keeping dreams alive, murdering the dreams of others, FC Cincinnati just won the next matchup of the Hell is Real game at home in Cincinnati. Got the 1-0 dub over the Columbus Crew. Suck it, Crew. That's right.
Hell is real, baby.
Yeah, hell is real, and today it is reserved for you.
And hopefully we don't do the same thing we did last year and lose the last 2 games because
see, here's the thing. It's you got it feels good because it's the first round of the playoffs. You've taken care of business. You beat Columbus. You got that out of the way. You've got some advantages here. You're doing very good. Just win some more games and just make it to the MLS Cup.
Well,
even if you don't win, just make it to the MLS Cup.
Yeah.
But win, because really, then you could just shove it in the face of the Bengals, of the Reds, of everybody else. Just do it.
Well, Justin, unfortunately, we do have to play Columbus Crew at least one more time, if not a third time. So not fully out of the woods with them yet. And the way that they have owned FC Cincinnati over the past couple of years, I think I'm just starting to become a battered Cincinnati sports fan, and I don't like it. I wait to celebrate things until they're at 0-0s, evidenced by my attendance of the Bengals-Jets game. And I don't know, man. Like, I know we won this first one, but man, just winning in Columbus, just don't even worry about it. We'll move on to whoever we play next. I know we're the number 2 team in the Eastern Conference, and I know Columbus has had a little bit of a down year, but they're kind of our boogeyman, man. Like, as long as we get past them, then I think the chains are off on this team.
Oh yeah, I think it's a very big mental fence here, and if you can jump that, you're in good shape. That is an hour and a half of Viva La Cats coverage on literally everything we could possibly think of, except for previewing basketball, which we will have to do because it is coming very soon. We have talked about the exhibition games. We've talked about a few other things, but we got to do a little bit of a deep dive, and we got to do it with the season starting next week. We are that close to basketball, people. Bearcats will get their first game against, I believe is it Western Carolina? Yeah, Western Carolina Catamounts. They will get that to start the season, and we will see how things go from there. But hopefully we'll have a pod out before that. If not, we'll probably catch you directly after that game. But we got other stuff to do. We've talked long enough. Steve, it was a great show. JP, once again, thank you for joining us. And as always, for all of the rest of you, we got guests on the show. Go give them a follow. Check them out. Follow that Head First podcast. It's great. And that's all I got. 1012 Network shout out once again. Thank you, Phil. Thank you to the rest of the network. We always appreciate everybody lifting each other up. How about we get another Bearcats dub this week? And Texas Tech and Houston, we're looking at you. Take a big fat L. Thanks. Viva
La Cats. Justin, do you know who is on the schedule next after the FC Cincinnati takes care of business? It's going to be Miami at home. Leo Messi, your dreams come to die in Cincinnati, baby. Only place in the league that's going to boo you,
perfect. Boy. Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. That lines up. I'd like to see another FC Cincinnati dub where we score 6 points against Lionel Messi. That'd be fantastic.
That'd be quite nice. Pink jerseys are ugly, by the way. And that leads me to Utah. I'm so tired of these guys.